Hi, preschool peeps. It's Cindy with a very quick message. Next week is December 30th, and Allison and I are taking a winter break for just the 1 week. We will be back with a new episode on January 6th. So enjoy today's episode, and we'll see you again Monday, January 6th. Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide. Hey, preschool peeps.
Hi, peeps.
Welcome back. And we want to especially welcome people from two different places that are in our stats.
Yeah. Hello, everybody in Egypt, specifically Cairo, Egypt. Hello to you. And hello to everyone in Milton, New Hampshire.
We are so excited that we are listened to so widely. We used to, if you've listened to our past episodes, there was a whole period of time when we shouted out places in our stats. And then we got away from doing it, but we're back because we are so appreciative of all of you who are listening or watching on YouTube, either one. Yeah. And we hope that you will continue to invite people to do that and even, build where you are, even if we're naming your where you are. Just keep building the people who are listening. It would be wonderful to see that happen in our statistics. And today we are here to talk about children saying no. What inspired this episode, wasn't it something that you encountered?
Something that I encountered at school where I witnessed a child saying no to a teacher, and the teacher says, "You're not allowed to say no to teachers." And the child was like, "No, I still don't want to do whatever it was." And it wasn't like something that had to be done. It was like, "Do you want French fries today for lunch?" And the child said, "No." He's allowed to say no. And then the child was placed in time out for saying no to a teacher. And I hear this a lot, like, "You're not allowed to say no to a teacher." And I think that's wrong.
Well, it is wrong to phrase it that way. Yeah. Timeout is also wrong, as an aside.
As an aside, yes. But
but they, when we say to young children, don't say no, you can't say no to a teacher, you can't say no to an adult, what we're teaching them is that they don't have a right to protect themselves. That's not okay.
Yeah.
Because what if they ever encounter a teacher or another adult who wants to do harm? They need to be able to say no. So we shouldn't be looking at children saying things like, you can't say no to an adult or you can't say no to a teacher. We shouldn't be doing that. So let's say you are a teacher, you need them to do something. The child says no. I think what we're supposed to do in that case is explain why they need to do this.
Right.
And it should be a good explanation. Like, I need you to hold my hand because when we're crossing the street, you can get hurt.
Right.
And you're one of their trusted adults. But I think we need to explain it to them and not just say you can't say no. The message children get, by the way, is not necessarily just you can't say no to a teacher. It's you can't say no to adults. You can't say no to the grownups. You can't. And there are times when someone may want to harm somebody. Also true is that children are absolutely going to say no to adults because it's the most powerful word they know, and they want to experiment with it. One of the things we can do to reduce the number of no's we get from children is actually give them the opportunity to say no to us in a socially acceptable way.
Yeah.
Like if you are silly with them and you say something like, "I think you should wear your shoes on your nose," they're going to be like, "No." That's a socially acceptable way to say no to me.
Right.
And I may have told this story previously in some episode of this podcast, but I'm going to share it again. There was a little boy who was in my program when I was a program director, and we had this sort of shtick every time I went in there, this routine. He always liked to play restaurant, and I would go in and sit in the restaurant, and he would say, "What can I get you?" And I would say, "Can I have some chicken nuggets?" And he would go to the kitchen, come back and tell me they didn't have any. And then I would say, "Well, can I have some fries?" Because I can see that this child is playing like fast food restaurant.
Yeah.
"Can I have some fries?" And he would go to the kitchen, come back and tell me, "No, we have no fries." And we did this back and forth about every food until I would finally say to him, "Well, what do you have?" And he would say, "I have peaches." It was always peaches. "I have peaches." And I would say, well, can I have some peaches? And he would say, no, you cannot have the peaches. And this was his socially safe way of saying no to an adult. I can't tell you how many times we did this routine. So many times that this was years ago. This child is now probably grown up. And I still remember that the go-to was peaches after everything that I asked for. So we did this a lot. It gave him the opportunity to say no to me. And sometimes we have to set up situations while children are playing where they could potentially say no.
Yeah. And I also think if you are an adult and you are giving them two choices, you have to be okay with either one of those choices. So if they say, I want this one, and you're like, no, like it gives them, that's their way of saying, no, I don't want that one. I want this one. It's okay to say yes to this one and no to that one. Like, I feel like you could probably get away from them saying no entirely if you just gave them enough choices that you're all okay with.
Right.
Right. Like, I feel like the situation I witnessed at school, it was like a situation where the question was a valid no question. Like, what do you feel like wearing today? And the child's like, no, wear red. And it's like, well, too bad. And it's like, well, what's wrong with him saying, no, I don't like red, or no, I don't want French fries for lunch, or no, I don't want that. Like, you're allowed to have an opinion.
Right.
And it's like, I think people think that children aren't allowed to have an opinion if it's different than theirs. And it's like, no, they are. Like, we're not trying to raise soldiers that just comply to whatever you as the adult want. They're allowed to say, no, I don't feel like doing that today. I don't feel like, if it's an appropriate thing to say no to, like, yeah, okay, you don't have to play art today. You don't have to play that today. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying no.
The problem is the blanket statement.
Yes.
The blanket statement of you can't say no to a teacher.
Yes.
You can't say no to an adult. You can't, it's that general blanket statement. You know, what if let's say you wanted the child to put a coat on because it's cold out and they say no, the response should be, we are putting coats on because it's cold out.
Right.
So that tells them what you need them to do and why, which is very different than looking saying, don't say no to me.
Right. Because I think in that situation, that's like what I call there's a no choice situation. Like, there's no choice. Like, we have to wear coats because it's really cold outside. So I'm not giving you a choice in that situation, which then you can't say no, because it's a safety thing.
What
right?
was the situation where do you know what happened when the teacher said you can't say no to teachers?
Oh, I don't know. This was like a month ago or months ago that this happened, but I don't remember. But I do remember the child said no to her. And she said, no, you don't say no to teachers. And then the child was placed. Instead of explaining whatever it is that she was trying to get him to do.
Right. Instead of addressing the particular situation.
Correct. Which doesn't solve anything, because now this boy's like, I got in trouble just for saying no. And I don't think it was anything like, we're going outside, you need to wear a coat. No, you have to, kind of thing. It was like something minor. Like,
right.
You're allowed to say no to. That's what struck me as like, he's allowed to say no. He's allowed to have an opinion on that, and his opinion's different than yours. That's okay.
Right.
I don't like the statement of like, you have to think exactly like I do because I'm the adult. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that just because I'm an adult, I know better than you.
Well, there are times when you do.
There's times when you do, but I think in this case that was not true. And it's like, yeah, there's times that you do. Like, yes, you need to wear a winter coat. Yes, you need to hold my hand when we're crossing the street. Yes, you need to stay with us because that's safe. But in other instances, I think people take it one step too far in that, like, no, you may never, ever, ever say no to me, no matter what the question is, no matter what the choice is, no matter what it is. If you say no, that's wrong.
See, and again, my issue with this is the blanket statement.
Yeah.
You can't say no to adults. You can't say no to teachers.
Yeah.
You can't say no to me, because there are going to be situations in which this child could potentially be saving their own self.
Yes.
By saying no.
Yes. And I kind of teach the opposite. I'm like, if somebody's doing something that you don't want them to do, then you do you say no and you say it loud. Like, and I practice in my class, like, I want you to scream it if you need to. And that goes for like, if a kid is bothering you, another child's bothering you, an adult's bothering you, a teacher's bothering you, a pastor's, I don't care who it is. If you don't want them to do whatever it is, you scream the no. So somebody else can
Well,
hear
don't
you.
we teach, or we should teach? I think most people teach young children. If you're playing with a toy and someone goes to grab it, you should look at them and say, no,
Mhm.
please don't grab my toy.
Yes.
So then how valid is it for an adult to be saying, you can't say no to me?
Right. Right.
We're
What are
teaching
we
them to
teaching
say
them?
no to each other.
But
We
they-
should be
yeah.
teaching them when someone does something that they don't like, if they're going to do something that the child doesn't like, we teach the child to say, no, I don't like that. Right?
Right.
We teach them to say, no, don't do that. No, I
Right.
don't like that. We even sometimes teach children to put up their hands so that they have
Yeah.
a physical reaction to the
Yeah.
no, and they can just put their hand up in the air and say, no, don't
Right.
do that. Because very often they need a physical outlet when they're frustrated. So it just seems to me that that statement of don't say no to a teacher is just the opposite of everything else we're teaching them.
Right.
There's ways to handle the no, like we
Yeah.
said, like saying to the child, here's why I need you to do it. Or yes, we have to do this because.
Yeah.
And, I understand that in situations where children could potentially be harmed, an adult could know to have that conversation.
Right.
Right. But the children need to know it's okay to say the no. It's okay to use the word.
Right.
We
If they
just
act
sometimes we just have to do the thing anyway.
Right. Because I think people are acting like the no is like this like awful like word that nobody should ever say.
It's just a word.
It's a word and it's a full sentence, by the way. Right. And I think this might be also why like we as adults have trouble saying no, is maybe because that is the old school mentality of like, no, you don't say no to your mother.
Do you think that's why as adults sometimes we have trouble saying no?
Yes.
Well, that's interesting.
Yes. And I'm saying we should do different with this group of students because look at us. You know what I mean? Like I think because we were told, no, you don't say no to us. I think that's a very old school way of like adults thought that was being respectful, and that's not what respect is.
I think you're right. I think it goes back to what is the adult's perception of respect from children?
Yes.
And if it is that, it goes back to the age-old children should be seen and not heard,
Yep.
which people just shake their heads at now.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not sure why we would think that this is okay.
Right.
And it also goes back to the, maybe you were taught that is respect. I was not taught that was
Right.
respect. So that there can be that misunderstanding. Perhaps at home, the child can say no to their adults and the adults explain what's happening.
Right.
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 So then they go to school and they say no, just like they do at home. And the teacher's like, you're not allowed to say no to me.
Right.
It's just so
wrong.
dismissive.
I think it also it's very dismissive. Yeah, it's just wrong. I think it's also like not teaching the children that you can disagree on things too and still respect each other, right?
Well, what if the child were to say no, and then we look at them and say something like, I know you don't want to,
Mm-hmm.
and here's why we're putting the coat
Right.
on.
Yeah, but in this case, we have to. Yeah,
I know you
what I
don't
mean?
want
Like,
to. I know that can be frustrating.
Right.
It is very cold out, so we have to put the coat on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Instead of saying, don't say no to the teacher.
I think there's like a lot of adults who just think that especially I think in the teacher world, they think like what they say goes, right? Like that's it. It's my classroom. What I say goes kind of thing. And I told you to put your coat on, so therefore you put your coat on without like even explaining why we need to wear coats. Why? Maybe even ask the child, why don't you want to wear this coat? Because
Right.
if I ask that question, the child will be like, it is uncomfortable. It doesn't fit. I don't like it. Okay, now
Right.
that's information I can give your mom.
Right.
I could give that to your parents and they can give you a different coat or something. Or I could adjust it so that it's different. But if I didn't even have that conversation, then I don't know why he's saying no. It really might be something about the coat in this instance, or I don't want to go outside because this happened yesterday and I'm afraid it's going to happen again today. It could be something totally, if you're not having conversations with them and asking them why, you're not going to know.
So it really is about finding out the why behind the no.
Yes.
Not saying you can't say no, not trying to eliminate the no, but finding out the why behind the no or explaining why we want them to do something.
Right. And to me, that all comes down to respect. Like, I respect whatever your answer is. You don't want to wear your coat, whatever the answer is, why? Okay, now I can figure that out for you as best as I can figure it out. In this situation, we might have to wait until your mother tomorrow to give you another coat. So for right now, let's just wear this one. Right. But like, if you're not having that respectful conversation with them, like that's to me like where it's not respectful. Like, if you're just saying no, you don't say no to me, you don't even care why that person said no, and that's wrong. Like, even as an adult, like if somebody says no to you and they don't explain it to you, be like, wait, but what, my feelings are valid, like what
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
Like why are you not respecting them to at least have a conversation about it?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's an issue.
Yeah.
So really think about, I understand that for some people, this is a very entrenched respect thing.
Yeah.
At the same time, especially when we know so much about children's ability to understand consent starting in the early childhood years, we have to really re-examine some of these age-old things that were done. And that includes looking at children saying, you don't say no to a teacher.
Yeah.
Or you don't say no to me.
An adult.
Yeah. Don't say no to grown-ups.
Yeah.
It's too blanket a statement.
It is.
And that can cause them issues in the future.
Yeah.
All right. So if you have another way that you address it when children say no to you, feel free to let us know. And maybe we will talk about it on an episode of the podcast. HowPreschoolTeachersDoIt.com and our Facebook page, How Preschool Teachers Do It. Don't forget to contact us. Keep listening, watching, and spread the word.
Yeah.
We will catch you next time.
Bye, peeps.